You want to talk about Dallas, don't you?
I do want to talk about Dallas.
It's so funny because it's like everybody says, "Oh, you're such a villain. You're such a villain," and you know you can't think about a character like that. I never think about a character like that. You're your character's advocate. You're your character's best friend. You can't. I know people tend to paint those characters with sort of this, broad brush, this swath of color, but there are reasons that people do things, and those reasons are what interests me. What is their psychology? What is their past? What is their background? How have they lived before that leads them to make them be this person that they are now? And when they called me to do this, Mike Robin and Cynthia Cedre, these really amazing producers, and they sent some of the sides of what this character would do shows down the line. I said, I have to play this character. Now, they were shooting in Dallas, so that meant when I was in New York, I would have to fly to Dallas, right? And so I did. And so I did that recurring role for 2 years, and she was fascinating to me. And there were so many people who didn't understand it, and how could I play Mitch Pileggi's mother because I look so much younger than he was, and I always said to people, how do you know I'm really his mother? And so, of course, that kind of intrigue would, excite people, and they would talk about that. But, and I would say to people, didn't you ever see Angela Lansbury and Lawrence Harvey in Manchurian Candidate? I think she was only maybe 3 years older than he was at the time. But there was this richness of character that they wrote for me to do that was so exciting for me. And it was something that I really hadn't played before. And that I had, every character that I play, it is essential that I look inside of myself to see the characteristics. I do believe that we all have all kinds of characters inside of ourselves, and we have narrowed ourselves down to one personality in order to get through the world, because if you had, thank you, Sybil, party of 16, right? You can't go through the world like that, but you actually can understand parts of yourself that when in the process of understanding them, coming to grips with them, knowing them about yourself, you can have empathy for somebody else. And so I had great empathy and compassion for this woman.
Judith Ryland was her name, I think.
Judith Ryland was her name. That's exactly right. And I gave them some backstory that I thought would be interesting for them. And so Cynthia and Mike and the writers all went with that, and then Cynthia changed some things in some ways, and she said, oh, we can use that, and we can use this. And it was like, there were things that never came out that would have eventually come out as we were ending. I know you really want to know, don't you? That would have been incorporated into the show. But what happened because of that was that there was this richly layered, not just a woman who was a villain, but someone who was operating in a way that was driven by her conscious mind as well as her unconscious mind. And I think we all are. It's like Herb says so many times, Freud said 100 years ago that consciousness is an extraordinary event, not an ordinary event. So at some level, we're all run by our unconscious. Now, what's fabulous is to get to be an actor that gets to look at all of those aspects, bring all of that stuff to light. That's enlightenment, right? You bring something that's been in the dark to light. And so you have this ongoing relationship with yourself, and then you're bringing that self into a character, and then you're bringing that character alive, so that there's a universality in some way about that people can actually connect to.
So let's move on to talking about Transparent.
Let's talk about Transparent.
Let's do it. So how did you get involved with the show?
It's the best. I had a Skype call with Jill Soloway for 45 minutes talking about LGBT issues.
Wow.
I never auditioned for her. Jill, intuitive, very, very intuitive. She knew also that I had worked with Jeffrey 40 years ago at the Milwaukee Repertory Theater, that she knew how I felt about him. She knew that he and I had done other things through the years. I played his girlfriend on a series that he did with John Lithgow that was very short-lived called 20 Good Years. But the thing about Jill is that it was important to her to put together a group of people whose energy would mesh. And, I mean, we talked about the piece and all this, but I knew it was shooting in LA. And when I finished with her, when I got off the Skype call with her, I hung up and I called Herb and I said, this could bring me back to LA. This is so extraordinary, and she is so genius. I know what she's going for. And it was, again, one of those moments in time where I said, there is guidance here, and if it's part of what I think is a purposeful part of my life, something that I've been working with in my life for a long time. And I also knew that the transgender community had been a portion of the LGBT that had been sort of the last thought. And I knew that this would change that. And I knew what Jeffrey would do with this. I knew the responsibility level that he would take for creating this character, not making it a caricature, not doing it with a wink. And Jill cast us all in that way. And then what she did was she had done a film called Afternoon Delight with my friend Josh Radnor, who I had actually done a play with in it's funny, I forgot about that. I did Company, and I played Joanne in Company with this fabulous group of people who were, a lot of them were from New York, like Chris Sieber, who was playing the lead, and Josh Radnor, who went on to How I Met Your Mother. And so she had done this film, it was called Afternoon Delight, and she worked with a woman named Joan Shekel. And she got everybody in the group to work with Joan, and then Jill won Best Director at Sundance for that film. So when we were starting Transparent, she said, I want all of us to do this work with Joan. Now, Joan, you do physical exercises, but you do not do the scenes. And the way she talks to you is she creates a context for the work where you are physically connecting with people out of, like, she'll say a line like, or Jill will say a line like, will you still love me if? And then Joan starts talking to you about how to move with somebody else and who to go to. And she has this huge studio, open platform. And the cinematographer, Jimmy Frona, came. And Jill was part of the work. And the first AD and the second AD. And all the actors. And everybody was working off the same place. And so when you first watch Transparent, you say, oh, that's a family. I know those people. And that was what she wanted to create, and that is exactly what she created. Was this, you knew that those people ate off each other's plates. And you knew that those people would drive each other insane, but at the same time, there was this depth of love that they carried with them that beyond anything. So in Transparent, and I don't know which episode it is, when Maura has been at the, has done Trans Got Talent. There's a show, and Maura comes, the kids leave and they don't stay for her performance. And then she gets in the car and she's driving, and you see her driving and you don't know where she's going. And she comes to my house. So you know and understand that for whatever their neurosis is, whatever their craziness, at the bottom line, there is always that love. And again, I go back to it's universal. It's mythic. It's iconic. Everybody knows that experience. Everybody knows that where they can go, whatever your family is, if it's a made-up family, if it's a family that you've created, not necessarily your blood family. But again, it also goes back to a purposeful career, a career that now, in this time of transgender, and when there are many of you who will be seeing this in 50 years, when we're all gone, you will look back and you will know that there was a time when people were not treated well. They were discounted. And that this was the beginning of that moment of taking it seriously, of taking it differently. And because this is Jill's story, and this is Jill's parent, and when she came out to the family, what it did to everybody. And the genius of Amazon Prime and Joe Lewis and Joe saw Afternoon Delight, called Jill's agent, said, I love this woman. What else does she have? They said, well, we're just about to send out this script. He said, I want it. He read it. He called them back. He said, I want it. And, of course, the rest is history. We won the Golden Globe this year. Jeffrey won the Golden Globe. He's probably going to win the Emmy. I'm not prescient. I mean, it's just like, it's sort of a fait accompli. It's like the pencil is dropped. When's it going to fall? Okay, September 20th on the Emmys, you know? I mean, there's just this thing about it that everybody says. The experience is so real for them. And it's addictive. They can't stop watching it. Now, I'm not a binge-watching person, but most people tell me that they can't stop watching it. It's like eating popcorn. They just can't get enough of it. And they're back writing now, and we're going to start in June again. And we really have to be careful that we maintain that level of commitment to the work. And I know that they will. I mean, I know how serious Jill is about this piece. This is her dedication to her parent. So that's transparent. It's very challenging to shoot. And there'll be moments in it, like there's this one moment where we're sitting Shiva, which is what Jewish people do for, you know, sort of like a wake. And Maura is sitting there, and she's just had this big fight with Gabby Hoffman's character. And Gabby storms out, and she's sitting there, Maura's sitting there, and I hear Jill call from the back, start walking toward her. And then Maura says to me, don't come any closer. And I hear Jill, keep walking. This was the way we worked with Joan, so that Jill could then come and like sort of sidewise say to Jimmy Frona, the cinematographer, shoot him, shoot her, shoot him, shoot her. So we were all a part of doing this, so it's never distracting. And that's part of what illuminates the work on the show. And that's why people feel, I think, about it the way that they do. They feel the kind of intimacy.
Tell us a little bit about your character specifically, Shelley.
Shelley. Jill came to me one day and she said, where does she come from? Because, you know, a lot of people don't know that I'm on the show, and then they go, wait, that's you? Because I know someone really close to me. And she said, what are you doing now? And I said, I'm doing this show Transparent for Amazon Prime. And she said, I have a client in that. She said, you're not in that. I said, yeah, I am. She said, who are you? She said, are you the mother? I said, yes. I'm Shelley. And she said, I just didn't know it was you. Which is my favorite thing. That's great. A woman who desperately doesn't want to be alone. Desperately doesn't want to be alone. Desperately wants to be connected and has no idea how to do it. And she makes all the wrong mistakes, says all the wrong things, is just about sticking her nose in everybody's business and trying to fix it. And a lot of people have said, when we were first starting this, and it was first aired, and they said, how are you going to be dealing with the fact that these are not likable characters? And we said, they're human beings. You can look at them and say those children are the most spoiled. Shelley is like the most undercutting, discounting person, and then the next moment, Maura comes to her house and she takes her in her arms. And you love them. And so I think that's true about every one of those characters, and in particular Shelley. And of course, in the later episode, when Ed is dying and you find out that she has, I don't know how much of it you've seen. And you've seen it, and you see Shelley is like in despair. And I remember Jill saying things to me about when I was doing it, and she said, go deeper, go from down to your lower parts to give this speech. And I knew exactly what she meant. So there's shorthand in those conversations. And so when you see, I think it's like episode 9 maybe, and the kids have all come, and I'm talking about Maura has come over to be with me, and I say, he's the only one who comes over. And Maura says, she. And I say, and he's the one who's been here for me, none of you kids, and something, and he says, he. And we did that over and over again until Jill got it exactly the way that she wanted. It's like, here's this woman who is ranting and finally letting out all of this stuff that's been inside for so long about a person that she has that's not really present with her. And this life that she thought she was going to have when she left Mort didn't pan out that way. People understand that kind of disappointment. And Jill got it just so that there was this moment where I'm at this pitch level, and it's like music, the way she directs, it's music. I'm at this pitch, and Maura is here. And I'm at this pitch, and Maura's here, and I'm at this pitch, and then there's this calming. And that's the progression of a character over 10 episodes. So that you don't get that, really. You just see Shelley doing whatever Shelley's doing, and there were times when Jill would say to me, don't look at them, just don't look at them. Or she would say that line and just get out of the room, get out of the room. So that what she's created, what we've created together, is this person that's not necessarily connected, but wants desperately to be connected. And then you see it 9 episodes in. Mm-hmm. And that's the brilliance, the sorrow. You write somebody off. You write Shelley off. You say, oh, she's this way. And then you go, no, actually, she's not. The kids ask me about Maura. And I say, oh, that's just his little kink. That's his little thing. Right, Rabbi? And quite frankly, I don't know where that energy comes. But it just comes through. And I think that's also that thing that I was talking about before, that when you, and we can talk about this later when we're talking about how we work, how to work, mm-hmm. that the letting go, the opening up, the information that's given, if you don't block it and make it about yourself or your ego, becomes something else. Mm-hmm. And I think Shelley, I know women like Shelley. I know those women. And so then Jill and everybody else, Jeffrey and Amy and Gabby and Jay, Duplass, so genius and brilliant. And then the work with Joan and the cinematographer and the crew and everybody who's involved gives the platform of support and safety, and then you can fly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they're writing season 2 now.
Yes, they're writing season 2 now. I wish I could tell you. I have literally no idea. I literally, if I knew something, I would tell you something, and then I would swear you to secrecy, or I would kill you, and then, but I can't, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know they have a lot of things in mind. There's lots of stories. There's lots of complications, but I don't know what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. I won't poke you more.
Thank you. Listen, if I knew something, I would be happy to know something, but I think we're going to know soon enough. And it's going to come out.
Wonderful.
And if we want to meet again in California, we can do that. We can talk
we're
about
going to take you up on that.
Okay.
So let's just have some summing up questions now. We're going to talk a little bit about craft and whatnot. So you've done comedy, you've done drama, you've done theater, film, TV. Do you have a favorite, or is it all just kind of art, as you were talking about before?
I love the character. I love the women I get to do. Love the women who I get offered to do. There's also something that I'm in the process of. I just did another pilot for CBS in a recurring part, which is starring Laverne Cox, and Katie Strickland and Elliot Gould and Dwayne Hill, and I mean, there's like Dulé Hill, and I don't know if it'll get picked up, but it was television. But it was this one great scene, and it's this fascinating woman. And then I'm talking about doing another play. I'm in the process of talking about that. I don't know what's going to happen, so I won't talk about it fully, but again, we can talk about that another time. And also Kathleen Chalfant is in it too. So it was every bit as exciting to me to do that scene on television as when I got to do One Life to Live or Who's the Boss, or because it's the women and the defining nature of who that personality, psychology, who that being is, that someone sat for hours and hours and hours and created this person, this being that comes out of their creation and is given to me, is entrusted to me. Now, of course I love the theater. It's so alive. We're having a connection with the audience. Things change and grow in all different kinds of ways. Other Desert Cities also went for 9 months. The dynamics of the characters change over time, and that's so interesting to do one character like that over and over and over again. But Angela Bauer grew over time, and so did Karen Wallach. And getting to do Who's the Boss in front of a live audience was like doing theater every week, as I said to you. So I always find something in every medium that gives me the ability to put out this person and this story in this time. It's like, I couldn't be doing this with you if John wasn't here with this camera. I could sit and do Constance and King John in my bathroom, and who would see me? It wouldn't matter. But it's the combination of the medium and the story and the person, the woman, the character, that is ultimately thrilling for me on every aspect. And there are some days that, you're shooting and you're just exhausted, and it's like, it's so hard and it's so difficult. I mean, One Life to Live is one of the hardest things that I ever did. It's exhausting. I mean, that kind of work over and over and over and over again. But those are the challenges that make you grow. And so I would say that it's really the combination of all of that for me. And the team is important. It's like, I notice so many times that people complain about it. It's so hard, it's this, and it's like, and because I get so grateful to be able to be in this business and be in the position that I am in this business. And it's not like I don't complain. I mean, God knows. I mean, it's like my feet hurt, this hurts, and it's like, just can we stop? Can we go to bed? But the top note is definitely gratitude in every medium for all of it. I feel so blessed.
What is your proudest career achievement?
Oh, my proudest career achievement. Things we've talked about today, many of them are, there is not just one. I would have to say that surrendering and taking One Life to Live was huge. Listening to Herb and going up for Who's the Boss. the Ryan White story. Getting myself to New York to audition for Wit and being willing to do it for almost a year. And the overall is that with everything, that I listened, that I listened when something was being presented, that in every one of those circumstances I listened. And I felt deep pride in myself for not going with my automatic personality, wants, desires, the little girl from Trenton who made her father cry when she did to us the night before Christmas. That I worked to become a person of substance, and that I listened to the support around me even when it was difficult to listen to. That when Herb said I was so angry going into those auditions, that I was keeping myself. I was creating that. And that I took responsibility for those things that were keeping me from following on a path that I think that I was here to follow. You know, when people talk about being in the zone, you know, I'm in the zone. You can always be in the zone. And I think you can always be in the zone if you're not trying to think with what I call your programmed mind. You know, I learned a lot from my parents, a lot. They gave me a tremendous amount. But I also knew as I got older that my neurosis was standing in my way. That's why I had to surrender at some point. I had to be on my knees, or in my case, I was flat on my back, and that I knew that I needed help. Because I knew at some deep intuitive level, I mean, mind you, I didn't want to know it, but I knew that I wasn't being my true self. I was going to stand so much in my way, and I was going to be so afraid of everything in life that I wasn't going to be able to take full advantage of this life the way that I knew that I so deeply wanted to. And so those accomplishments are the ones that really taught me that I could be brave no matter how scared I was. I mean, opening night of Lombardi, I was a wreck. Opening night of Other Desert Cities, I was a wreck. Opening night of the Assembled Parties, you know, there's this. And I remember when I did Herzl, I was holding on to my chair in my dressing room, and I thought, I can't make it down to the stage. I was so terrified. But we're terrified, and we move on. And so when I say to you, those are times, and the medium is whatever it is, it's how am I being in the world? How am I being in my career? How am I being with other people? Am I bringing joy to a set, or am I bringing complaining? Am I bringing what I've learned over the years? Am I taking advantage of that and giving it away to other people? Am I there to support other people being the best that they can be? Or am I just making it about myself? And all of those opportunities I had were those opportunities.
Do you have any career regrets?
No, I don't. I wish I had been better in Intimate Agony. I wish I had been better in You Are the Jury. I wish I'd remembered to thank Joe and Robbie at the Tonys. I wished with projects I'd listened better, that I had been a better actor at certain times during that period of time when I was doing some of those movies of the week, where I would have been able to hear a director give me direction that would have taken me to give a better performance and to have given a more substantive performance. But like I said, you had to be careful when you go into a soap opera, you go into a sitcom, you lock in. I was locking myself into certain bad habits. And then I would get scared, and my hearing, my listening wasn't as acute to actually allow a director to guide me in a way that would make me better. And so I look back on some of those performances and I say, I could have been better. But it's not deep regret, it's awareness. It's like, Herb always says, don't have feelings about the feelings. It's like, it was what it was. You were there when you were there. The only thing to do is to look, and there's a trajectory of a life. One of the things I believe that I am and have been supposed to do in this life is to find a way to get myself more centered. Not to be coming from an emotional come from about everything. It's like, if you look at your life, you say, I have an emotional reaction to this and this and this and this. I mean, maybe you don't, but with my personality, I did. And it's been very important to me to keep finding my way through that. And so I think I think the work that is my responsibility and all of our responsibility is to look and see how we have behaved in many ways that can be destructive and unfortunate, that doesn't allow for a kind of genuine, deep connection and knowing that we are in fact all one body of humanity. And so I work on myself as best as I can in every moment for that outcome to not be from my programmed mind. The little girl in Trenton, New Jersey, who so desperately wanted this career, to be the woman who has accomplished a great deal because I took chances and because no matter how afraid I was in certain circumstances, I did it anyway.
Mm-hmm. So if you were going to offer advice to someone who's just starting out in acting, what would you say to them?
Make sure you want to do it more than anything else. That it has to be. Not that you can't do something else, not that you can't have other jobs, ideas, expansion of personal life, any of that, but that you want this more than anything. It is like the Carnegie Mellon brochure that says this program is as rigorous and exacting as theater itself. Well, you could also substitute the word life. This program is as rigorous and exacting as life itself. And if you don't have to do it, then think about something else. I don't care how talented you are, and I don't care how talented everybody in your family said and how adorable little Judy was dancing with the people in her poodle costume. That does not a career or a life make. I often say also to people starting out, know what your purpose is. You are in a service business. You are there to give a performance. You are there to serve. If you are doing this for your ego, or because you think you can become a star, or because you think you can make a lot of money and ride around in limousines with fabulous clothes and fabulous jewelry, most of which go back the next day anyway, you don't get to keep them, and the perks are lovely, there is no question about that. But if you are doing this for anything other than to really serve and bring some kind of light or illumination to the project that you are working on that will lift your team, lift yourself, and lift anybody who comes to see you, then you are not going to do this profession a service. I talk to young actors a lot about actor etiquette, which I think is extremely important. And when I was going, and have been going through this process, one of the things I studied was Reiki. And you can all Google it now. And it's R-E-I-K-I, and it's a healing system, and it's one of the things that there is this thing that you say in the morning when you are a Reiki practitioner, just for today, do not anger. Just for today, do not worry, and be filled with gratitude. Devote yourself to your work. Be kind to people. And I think that is a model for anything. I think that is a context for life. And it's helped me tremendously. And the other thing that I would say is that get a practice that supports you. And most important of all, get a team around you that doesn't pat you on the behind and blow in your ear. Now, I would have said ass, but I don't think we can say that.
You can say ass, please.
But don't get people who pat you on the ass and blow in your ear. You don't need that. You need people who tell you the truth. You need people like Herb and Jonathan and Robert. And really Herb, who will say to me, you think you're doing one thing, but you're doing something else. There's a voice in your head that you have come to listen to that doesn't belong to you, that is made up of a compilation of lots of things, and that's what I call the programmed mind. There's another voice. There's your higher self that actually knows what you are to do and how you are to do it. And if you are listening, you will hear that voice. And it may be the road less traveled, and it may be a more frightening path, but it is the path that will lead you to the most joy. I'm not talking about the most peace. I'm talking about the path that will, the brave path that will give you the direction and the trajectory of what you're actually here to do. I believe people are here to do something. I believe everybody has a purpose. I believe that we are all in some way here to serve each other, make each other better. And I would say that if that's your purpose in doing this, and that can be any job, you can do that in any job, anywhere, and make your life your context, not your career. Because if you were like me and you were going to sit there and wait until you got feature films and Broadway, you were not going to work for a long time necessarily. And it doesn't mean you don't have hopes and dreams. It doesn't mean you don't have goals. But if you have no flexibility, if you don't bend your knees like you have to when you ski, if you don't lean down the mountain, which is probably, as Herb always says, the most automatic things that we do as human beings can be the most detrimental. When you're on skis, and I learned to ski because the boys were all skiing, so I said, okay, I have to learn because I want to have lunch with them. So, like I didn't ride a bike, I learned to ski. And we talked about skiing, and when you're on skis, you have to lean down the mountain. Well, everything in me was like, no, I'm not leaning down the mountain, you have to go like this. Well, that's like incredibly detrimental, because if you're putting your weight on your uphill ski, you're going to fall down. Same thing with learning to swim. What do? Grab on, you're floundering, you can't breathe. It's like, stop, float. So I don't mean for this in any way to be new age or, follow your path and do this. I'm talking about hard work. I'm talking about challenging, that every time you say, like I did, no, I must be doing a feature film. It's like, well, maybe not now. Maybe when One Life to Live comes your way, that you with your big mouth have sworn not to do. The other thing that I would say is that you've got to work hard, and you've got to be disciplined. And that means if you have to get up for a 4 a.m. call when they're picking you up, that you're up at 2 o'clock, and that you've done your exercises, and you're ready to go, and you're ready to work. So I'm not talking about this new age thing where you say, I want to be this person, and I'm going to have my soul's trajectory go through the world being of service to people. That is bullshit. That is not what I mean. I'm talking about defined discipline, hard work, proactivity, knowing that you want to be a person that is serving other people and doing work that illuminates the story, and that you are in service to your playwright and to your director and to your other castmates. And all of a sudden, your life becomes something entirely different, or the magic of what you least expected took you down a path that you never would have gone if you listened to this voice. But if you listen to that voice, the higher self voice, all of a sudden, you become the person that you always dreamed you could be.
So you'd mentioned having a great team around you.
Yes, very important.
You and your husband just celebrated your 30th wedding anniversary.
We did.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So how have you managed to balance your married life with both of your careers?
It's hard. It's really hard to balance it. Because when I said I was going to New York, it was like, how are we going to work that out? The only thing that's really important is that you keep talking about everything and that you stay in the room. And I think it's important people say, oh, wow, God, you've been married for 30 years. Oh, that's so romantic. And it's like I want to say, listen, it's just like I was saying before about the work. It is devotional. It is hard work. It is a challenge. I always want people not to walk away from us thinking that there is this perfection out there that we've achieved and nobody else can achieve, that other people can't achieve it. It's like we keep staying in the room and we talk about it. And things are difficult because when I became more successful, that was very hard for him. And so we had to keep talking about it. But also, Herb and Jonathan are also our best friends. So they talk about everything. And so we as a straight couple have modeled our relationship after a gay couple, which I know is very different for people to know about, but it's absolutely the truth. Because gay people, in so many ways, are actually forced to be... Remember what I said earlier about everybody has something to come out about? It's like gay people know what they have to come out about. And they are a demonstration in the world, I believe, of people who can live authentically. That's what's so powerful about Transparent. The character of Maura is saying, I'm not that person you think I am. I am a woman, and I am going to live authentically and courageously. And I think the gay community has taught us about sexuality. I think the transgender community is teaching us about gender fluidity, gender identification, gender presentation. And so when you look at a group of people who are a demonstration as a body of people of an authentic and courageous life, because they come up against everything in order to be truthful about themselves. The law, religion, their families, society, everything that says, no, no, you should be this way. And that's what Herb always says. Saying you're gay, coming out, is not just saying you're gay. It's this existential moment where all those forces that I just mentioned are pushing up against you, and you stand up in the face of that and you say, no, actually, this is my truth. I think that's what people are responding to in Transparent with Jeffrey's character, with Maura. And so Robert and I knew that watching them, being inspired by them, knowing that whatever came up between the two of us, like discussing how difficult it was that I was getting more successful than he was a coming out in a way. But we had to talk about it. Because it's like all those things live under the surface. It's like if you have a room that you never clean, the room gets dirtier and dirtier over time. And then there's that wonderful New Yorker cartoon that I so love. The two old people are sitting in the Chinese restaurant and she's got her mouth open and she's speaking, and the caption underneath is, "It's not the egg roll, Harry, it's the last 20 years. And so we try as much as we can not to have it be the last 20 years. We keep working to clean the room. And so now what's happened is that he's starting to write, and he's really extraordinary at it. And he just finished a novel. I mean, and I had an idea for this, for a series. And I sat down to try to write it. And, you know, I remember I'm the girl who wrote the play in first grade, you know, in Trenton, Shy Violet. I go, not very good. I said, you're a writer. You could do this. We could do this together. So we've been talking about that. But everything has to be talked about. And you have to stay in the room. So that really does make a tremendous difference. And the team around you, and what I was talking about with actors is, get yourself some people that are there, that have your best interest. That will not enable you, will not say, oh, honey, that's okay. You know, like Herb said to me, he could have said to me, honey, you don't have to go up for Who's the Boss. That's fine. Don't worry about it. He said, get your ass in there. Those are the kind of people that you want. And you have to listen to them. You have to make them right. You have to pick your team and you have to say, I want that team around me. I want those people. I need those people. But that also requires that you know and that you take responsibility for and you pay attention to what you know is your neurosis. See, I knew that I needed help. And that was my saving grace. I knew it. I knew that I couldn't do it alone. And a lot of people go through the world and they say, I know how to do this. I know this. I'm right. I'm good. No, I got it. And it's like, ooh, shooting yourself in the foot. You have to really watch out for that. And you have to find good teachers, people that will mentor you. Be on the lookout for those people. Not those people who have an agenda with you, but those people who are really have your best interest at heart, and they are out there. A lot of people say, oh, I can't find an acting teacher who doesn't make it about them. Well, fine, you can find somebody. There are many, many, many people out there that actually can give you great support.
And one last question.
Yes,
for you.
madam.
How would you like to be remembered?
Oh.
Kind of a big one.
It's huge. I think most importantly that I was kind, that I made it about other people, that I was gracious and that I was generous and that I had handled my emotional life so that I wasn't having that spill over into everybody else's space or life. That I genuinely love the work that I do, that I'm deeply grateful for it to so many people. And I guess that I did what I came here to do, and that I listened.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sitting down with us
Thank
today,
you.
Judith. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.